Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. And don't expect those 100,000 people in hotels to be getting their work permit from Doug Ford anytime soon. Apparently, Doug Ford has decided to walk that back, which is good news, really. I don't think flooding the Ontario labor market with 100,000 hotel dwellers is a good idea, but also, why are we forced to continue paying for them? The payment for hotels is scheduled to be up in September of this year, but there's no plan for what to do with them. What are you going to do with all of these people? There's no housing for them to move into. So what do you do with all of these people? So this is a problem that is going to raise its ugly head again in a month and a half. People are going to be saying, oh no, we've got all these people in hotels at the tune of $1 billion. Well, the $1 billion is since 2020, but there's 485 hotel rooms, I think, at this point in time that are full of people. And the funding for that is going to end in a month. And where are they all going to go? I don't think there are any good answers there. Reaching out to Harper. So trade is failing, and a whole bunch of other countries, the EU and a whole bunch of other countries, have deals with the United States and Donald Trump, and not Canada. And so apparently, Carney is reaching out to Harper for help with that, which is not surprising, but we'll see how that all plays out. Trump wants the Ukraine war over in 10 days. We'll look at that closer to the end of the show. The EU trade deal and its impact on Canada, because Canada could have sold $750 billion worth of liquid LNG to the European Union. Unfortunately, we said there's no business case for that. We hate money and we'd like to virtue signal more. And so we missed that deal, and now Trump's got that deal, and sucks to be us. And how else is that trade deal going to hurt us? UK is treading on free speech, and we'll talk about that in a little bit of detail. And up to 210 candidates in Battle River Crowfoot. Wild, absolutely wild. Lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we have to start with the Canadian election. I was going to start with the free speech stuff. The free speech stuff and the trade stuff go hand in hand, and they're both important stories, and they are both kind of foreign stories, but they impact Canada in a very, very big way. So we're going to talk about them early in the show today. But I thought that we've got to talk about the election rigging by Elections Canada. It's weird. It's a weird thing to have Elections Canada quarterbacking and allowing this election interference to go on while facilitating it almost. It seems very, very odd to me. Very, very strange indeed. CTV News is reporting list of candidates running in Pierre Poilievre's by-election passes 200. Oh my gosh, 200 candidates. I called it, right? Here's table salt. They said the ballot in the riding of Battle River Crowfoot, where Poilievre is running in a by-election, will be 88.2 inches long. How long is it? Almost 7 feet long. But they decided this is getting ridiculous. 6 feet is fine, but 7 feet, that's too big. And so they've decided to squelch all that. And they put out this video, or they put out this announcement. No says Elections Canada announces write-in ballots for the by-election. As long as the elector's intention is clear, their vote will be counted, even if they misspell the candidate's names. That sounds okay, but not really. This is not the answer to this. According to Northern Perspective, apparently Elections Canada has the power to fix this, and they're just not. They could do something about this, but they're not doing anything about this. And there's been evidence that people are registering as candidates from overseas, people who are not living in Canada. I don't know if they've been approved, but that seems pretty wild as well. But here's what Elections Canada is saying. Higher than usual number of candidates on ballot in Battle River Crowfoot by-election. And they have this whole list of what they're doing, but essentially they're whittling it down so you have to write in the name. But if you write in, this is the video, and we're going to watch the video in a second, but you need to pay attention to this. Mr. Sunshine Baby is the one who highlighted this, who found this, and I'm just highlighting his work, so that's I appreciate it, right? But it says, if an elector writes only the name of the political party, the vote will not count. So they're making a lot of, if you misspell the name of the person that you're voting for, that vote will count. We will count that vote because we will know your intention. We know what you mean, even if you can't spell the name of the person on this 200-person long ballot. We know what you mean. Don't worry. We'll be able to figure it out. And I think that's pretty suspect. But if you write the name of the political party, to be really sure, it won't count. Weird. But they're making a lot of, it'll definitely count. Don't worry, right? So here's the Elections Canada video that's announcing this change, and I'll read what the text on the screen says because it's just got lots of bleeps and boops. Okay, so it's kind of, and you know what, I'm going to turn it down from here because sometimes I turned it down in my control panel, but it's as loud as it always is here, and I can't even hear myself think over the beeps and the boops. Okay, here's the Elections Canada beeps and boops. It says the ballot for the by-election in Battle River Crowfoot will look different. Given the unusually high number of candidates and past challenges with large ballots, Elections Canada will use an adapted ballot. Instead of marking their choice in a circle, electors will need to write the name of the candidate they are voting for on the ballot. A complete list of candidates will be available. As long as the intent of the elector is clear in writing a candidate's name, the vote will count. If an elector writes only the name of the political party, the vote will not count. As always, the ballot will have integrity safeguards. Integrity safeguards, okay. And election workers will count all the ballots in front of witnesses. So I still think that what is happening here is election interference and facilitated election interference by Elections Canada. I think it's very, very strange what's going on here. Mr. Sunshine Baby says Elections Canada announced that they will use a modified ballot for the Battle River Crowfoot by-election. Voters will be required to write the name of the candidate they voted for. That's insane. Any spelling mistakes or incomprehensible writing will be inadmissible. And that's apparently not true. But again, I don't know the mechanism by which they're going to do this. How can they know my intention if I can't spell the name correctly? How do they presume to know my intention? Oh, we know what you meant. Okay, great. And the post got community noted, and it says Elections Canada Act states a spelling mistake does not spoil your ballot. An election officer shall not reject a special ballot for the sole reason that the elector has incorrectly written the name of a candidate if the ballot clearly indicates the elector's intent. And so Mr. Sunshine Baby has screenshotted the part of the video that I highlighted for you that says if an elector writes only the name of the political party, the vote will not count. And so it is not what they're making it seem like. They're misleading people in their push that, oh, your vote will definitely count. Elections Canada is sharing this in an X post. Elections Canada will use an adapted ballot for the election in Battle River Crowfoot. And Wayne says, why isn't Elections Canada investigating the longest ballot committee for operating as an unregistered political party? The majority of these candidates all have the same agent, just like a political party. Majority of these candidates all have the same ideological goal, just like a political party. These candidates all work with the same group of people. I think enjoy is wrong there, but these candidates all work with the same group of people, just like a political party. A political party is only allowed one candidate. Why is this being allowed to continue? Elections Canada has all the power it needs to stop this. I don't disagree. And so why are they using adapted ballots instead of shutting this crap down? Because they should be shutting this crap down and saying the integrity of your elections is being protected by Elections Canada. They're not doing that. And it's notable that they're not doing that. Here is somebody responding to the CBC News report on this, and it's the clown face meme. So, the white makeup goes on, 50 names on a ballot, the clown eyes and lipstick goes on, 100 names on the ballot, the wig goes on, 150 names on the ballot, and the clown is complete with the ballot is too long, please write the candidate's name, right? This is clown world personified. And if you think our electoral integrity is above board and you're comfortable with this system, do you want to come talk to me about it? Because I don't understand how you could think that at all at this point in time. I don't trust any of our institutions. I don't know how you could in this context. Holy smoke. Everything, like even Parks Canada looks compromised. It's wild. And I mean, in Ontario, Parks Canada is kind of benign. You get a job for the summer, you're watching people drive into the park and you're waving at them, right? Like the job is, it is not supposed to be corruptible, but seems corrupt. Sean, let's talk about Christian persecution in Canada. Sean says, how diverse do we need to be in order to get a permit to worship God in Winnipeg? Does anybody know? CBC News says, in diverse Central Park community, concerned about the U.S. Christian musicians concert could sow division. Division, not division. We don't want division here. Diversity is our strength, but not division. Division's not our strength. Sound division. That Christian's way too Christian for me. How dare he be here singing Christian songs, right? Like, come on, guys. The whole thing's wild. The Democracy Fund has stepped up to help with Sean and the church in Montreal that was targeted after Sean joined their worship on July 25th. That says, Montreal church fined for worship service. The Democracy Fund takes on the legal challenge. The Democracy Fund defends the church after police and protesters attempt to shut down Christian services attended by U.S. artist Sean F.
President Trump was a total car crash for the Prime Minister.
Everybody.
Free speech.
I don't know why I just decided to start speaking now. It's annoying when X does that. The Democracy Fund has stepped in to represent the church, the Montreal church at which the U.S.-based artist Sean worshipped on July 25th. The church was issued a ticket with a fine in the amount of $2,500 for engaging in Christian worship at a Friday service. Video shows police entering the church before or during the worship service. Later, protesters attempted to forcefully shut it down. Sean, a Christian musician and activist known for leading large outdoor worship events across the United States, was in Montreal as part of a Canadian visit. His presence drew criticism from local activist groups. Officials accused the church of violating municipal bylaws related to the event permits or zoning. However, no such regulations prohibit regular worship gatherings. The Democracy Fund litigator director Mark Joseph said freedom of religion is a fundamental freedom under Section 2A of the Charter. You do not need permission or a permit from the government to worship at a church in Canada. It's absurd to suggest otherwise, and it risks setting a dangerous precedent that will extend to all religions. Yeah, but it won't be enforced for all religions. It'll only be enforced for one religion. The Democracy Fund and its lawyers intend to fight this matter and are eager to respond to this obvious charter infringement in court. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Democracy Fund represented many churches and pastors facing restrictions on worship. Legal fees are expected to be sizable in this case, but the Democracy Fund is committed to supporting religious freedom for all Canadians. We will need your help to defend the church. Please consider making a charitable donation. So there you go. And the process is the punishment, as is often the case, but in this case, paying the fine would be cheaper, but defending the freedoms is more important, right? And so that's very, very concerning. Jamil says, today I submitted a notice of motion to the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage concerning recent attacks on the freedom to worship. We must protect religious freedoms in Canada. And he's got a letter here. It says, this is that the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage recognized that protecting the freedom to worship without fear of violence or criminal intimidation is a fundamental part of Canadian heritage. Acknowledge that Canadians are right to be disturbed by the attacks on the church in Montreal on July 25th. Acknowledge that religious communities in Canada have faced increasing violence and criminal intimidation since 2021, including over 100 churches being burned down or desecrated, Hindu temples being targeted by violent protesters, Jewish schools and synagogues targeted by fire bombings and shootings, and mosques targeted by assaults and vandalism, and recognize that additional legal protections and security measures are required to prevent criminals from targeting religious communities and attacking the freedom to worship in Canada. The committee undertakes a study on threats to freedom of worship without fear of violence or criminal intimidation in Canada since 2021, specifically consider the impact of bubble zone laws for places of worship. See, all this stuff is great, but it never actually applies to Christian churches, which is concerning, right? Let's talk about free speech in England. And Carl says, I wonder if it's that they truly believe in the power of the state and think that everyone will eventually just capitulate to it. I think that they probably do. He's responding to this person talking about the Online Safety Act. Labour, which is the Liberal Party in Canada, in the United Kingdom, is inevitably going to repeal the Online Safety Act when Apple, WhatsApp, etc. stop serving the United Kingdom like they have promised to do. So why is Labour backing themselves into a corner by insisting only pedophiles oppose the law? How are they this bad at horizon scanning? Yeah, they're pretty bad at horizon scanning, and it's interesting what's going on with this Online Safety Act. They're targeting free speech and quite a lot. And Keir Starmer is kind of panicking. And the people who are doing this interview, I've got an interview with them talking about how satisfying this interview was because Keir Starmer is scrambling a lot. Here we go.
The importance of free speech today.
Well, free speech is very important. I don't know if you're referring to any place in particular. Perhaps they are, but
we've had free speech for a very, very long time here, so we're very proud about that.
What's the importance of free speech today?
Free speech, right? Oh, we've had free speech for a very long time, and we're trying to crush it as much as humanly possible. Chris says, we've had free speech for a long time, so we're very proud of that. He panicked because he knows he's lying. The UK knows he's lying. America knows he's lying. Even his wife knows he's lying. Who is he fooling? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Peter says the Online Safety Act prohibits all criticism of illegal immigration, and it says the kinds of illegal content and activity that platforms need to protect users from are set out in the act, and this includes content relating to illegal immigration and people smuggling. Wild. Absolutely wild. Why? What? What is going on there, right? So you're not allowed to criticize illegal immigration and people smuggling, or talk about people smuggling in a way that the government doesn't like. Here is this guy, and this is a little bit long, but they're talking about, I think it's important, they're talking about the Online Harms Act and how it's going to impact, and that they need to do something, otherwise this is going to be enshrined.
Lots to get through, including the Online Safety Act, which you have highlighted two key parts amongst the litany of outrage, but two key particular parts of this which have caused you big concern. Just explain what they are.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure everyone watching this programme understands that this Online Safety Act, Orwellianly named, is plunging this country into a China-style surveillance state. And so the two key things I want to flag inside the Act. Section 44, which allows the Secretary of State to unilaterally force Ofcom to change the rules about what needs to be censored and what doesn't, without an act of parliament, without a vote. So basically, it's a death knell of democracy in that respect. The second one is Section 179, which is even more insidious. What it does is make it illegal to say something that is false, that causes, and I quote, non-trivial psychological harm. And it's not just making that illegal, it is forcing social media companies to proactively censor that speech. And the penalties that are being imposed on these social media companies are things like 10% of global revenues and potentially criminal sanction for management. So what's that going to do, Ben? It's going to create an incentive structure for social media companies to over-censor, because that's a rational thing to do if you're trying to protect shareholder value. And we've already seen in the less than 48, I think 36 hours since this thing has come into force, we've seen protests of against migrant hotels in Leeds being actively censored on X, by the way. And X is, thanks to Elon, supposed to be the last bastion of free speech. And we're seeing tweets which criticise immigration being censored. And now the Telegraph reported last night the Prime Minister has brought about a quote, and I quote, an elite police force not to protect British people from illegal migrants and the crime they're committing, but to monitor anti-migrant activity. We are slipping into a world which would frankly make Xi Jinping blush.
Two really.
Right. And so they talk at the end there about how they have to fight it. And so maybe. How? It's already in. And censorship, oops, this guy admits that the Online Harms Act is going to capture adults in its censorship.
Online safety bill, if it's just about children, is it just about children, or does it focus on adults?
That should be an elite squad?
Barry, does it just focus...
To protect 13-year-old
I'm sorry,
girls?
the elite squad is not about children, actually. Shall I read you the thing? An elite squad of police officers is to monitor social media for anti-migrant sentiment. I don't think 13-year-olds are engaging that. So is it also to monitor adults? Simple question, yes or no?
Yes, of course it will.
Okay, there we go.
Yes, of course. Well, of course. That was always the intention. Next question. Queen Bee says this is their new Fabian spin. Anyone who opposes the curtailment of freedom likes to sleep with children. BBC Breakfast say, well, here's part of it. Here we go.
Verifying your age keeps a child safe, keeps children safe in our country. So let's just not try and find a way around. Just prove your age, make the internet safer for children, make it a better experience for everyone. That's surely what we should aspire to in this country. And I say to people like Nigel Farage, who want to turn the clock back and want to just overturn these regulations, every time he does this and says it, he makes children more exposed, more susceptible to dangerous content. He makes them more vulnerable, just like they were in days gone by and years gone by. And we, as a government, simply will not allow that to happen. So the Online Harms Act in England is being excused away by saying this is protection for children. How dare you? How dare you oppose protection for children, right? Won't somebody think about the children? But it's false, and they're using it to browbeat people into submission. It's not actually true in the strictest sense. Here is this guy, and he says, well, I think he makes a good point. Here's his point.
We've been fighting all these wars, year after year. to protect our freedoms. How is it that we've lost so many freedoms?
America has as many surveillance cameras per person as communist China. Police departments from New York to LA are combining these cameras with facial recognition technology to track everyone. Even your car tire sensors allow you to be tracked. Your data is also being sold to the police and the federal government. A product called Fog Reveal allows police to create what are called patterns of life on a person and to possibly track them without a warrant. The government is also continuing to use a backdoor in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, to spy on Americans.
All these things, they're utter bullshit. And the public servants, they don't give a damn about the people they serve.
Truth. Absolute truth. And so, I mean, people, I don't know if people see it, right? But this guy says, politics is the vehicle for producing a compelling series of events to logically explain to the public the ever-increasing presence of a one-world government, which has already existed for decades. Follow the tech, follow the military-industrial complex, follow the contracts, follow the white papers. Following politics will always keep you right where they want you, 20 years behind schedule. And so I look at what he's talking about, and it's unbelievable. Like, it's so unbelievable that I often hint at it in the show here because I do look at these things that he's talking about. It's so unbelievable that you almost wouldn't believe it, except that, I mean, I almost don't believe what's happening now. And I can't believe that more people aren't upset about it. It's incredible. It's incredible, honestly. And here's the last thing. Sean says, U.S. aid goes bye-bye, and so does Colbert, The View, Media Matters, and the DNC. That's a real live house of cards, ladies and gents. And Rochelle says, we were paying taxes to operate the propaganda wing of the radical leftists. Let those cards fall. And if you can understand that politics is the vehicle of producing a compelling story to explain to the public what's happening, you understand why U.S. aid was used to prop up so many programs like The View and Colbert that talk about these things, Media Matters and Act Blue and others, right? That's how insidious it all is. And with that, we're going to talk about trade, and it's a really good segment. It's really, really interesting. Donald Trump is calling out the EU, and this lady talks about how satisfying it is to watch Keir Starmer squirm because he knows that he's lying, and the news knows he's lying, and he's going to be called out when Trump goes. And so that's going to be fun. Anyway, I have to say goodbye to the stream, so thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you tomorrow. And for everybody else, we will carry on and do the rest of the show. Martin talking about trade.